We all want a better world. We want justice, peace, respect. We want others to change, politicians to be honest, co-workers to be more empathetic, family members to be less selfish. We want to transform society from the outside, but we rarely ask ourselves, and me? From what place do I want that change at? Confucius understood this clearly. If you wish to rectify the world, first rectify your own heart. Because every attempt to change what surrounds us without changing what dwells within us is an illusion. Real change doesn't begin with speeches. It begins with actions. It is not born from demanding of others, but from demanding of ourselves. Humanity has advanced in technology, speed, and connectivity. But if we do not advance in integrity, humility, and virtue, we will keep falling into the same errors. This video is not a critique of the world. It is an invitation to begin with the only place where you hold real power, yourself. Because when the heart changes, our view of the world changes. And when our view changes, the world begins to transform. For Confucius, the order of the world did not begin in governments, laws, or armies. It began in the human heart. He said, "When there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in character. When there is beauty in character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world." That chain says it all. The greatest change is built on small inner victories. Confucius was not naive. He knew the world is full of injustice and that there are systems that need to be transformed. But he also knew that if those who lead, teach, judge, or serve have not worked on themselves first, that change will be superficial or even corrupt. That's why he spoke so often of personal virtue as the foundation of the common good. The wise, in Confucius's view, are not those who speak well or criticize the system. They are those who begin by correcting themselves, by governing themselves, by purifying their intentions. Because you cannot demand justice while acting with resentment. You cannot demand respect while despising others. You cannot ask for peace while living with anger. The heart, in his philosophy, is not just the emotional center. It is the moral core of the person. What you think, what you feel, what you desire. Everything else is built from there. That's why, to change the world, you must first look inward. And that transformation is neither grand nor visible, but it is the most powerful of all. It's easy to point out what's wrong out there, to criticize others, society, the system. But it's much harder to look in the mirror and admit that we often demand changes we don't practice ourselves. We want others to be more patient, yet we lose our temper at the slightest discomfort. We ask for more empathy, but we judge quickly. We demand others to listen, but we ourselves don't know how to listen. Confucius knew this. Before demanding from others, examine your own conduct. This is not an excuse for passivity. It's a call to coherence, because trying to change others by force does not bring real transformation. It only creates resistance. But when someone changes from within, that change becomes contagious. This is clear in human relationships. You can try to convince, force, manipulate. But real change in others only happens when they see a living example in you, not an empty speech. A parent who preaches respect but humiliates does not educate. A partner who demands love but doesn't offer it only imposes. A boss who demands commitment but shows none loses moral authority. The world is full of voices calling for change, but Confucius offered a different path. Be the change you expect. Not because it guarantees instant results, but because it's the only thing you truly control. Your way of acting, speaking, responding. When you change, your relationships shift. When your heart becomes clearer, your words do too. And then, without imposing, you begin to influence. Because a transformed heart radiates a power that words alone cannot reach. Changing the heart is not just a romantic metaphor. It's a deep, demanding process that touches every area of life. For Confucius, this transformation rested on three essential pillars that shape real change: inner righteousness, emotional honesty, and practical compassion. First, inner righteousness. This is the ability to do what's right, even when no one is watching. It's asking yourself, is what I'm doing, saying, thinking just? Not according to my convenience, but according to principle. Confucius said, "The noble man demands of himself, the petty man demands of others." Changing the heart begins by aligning your actions with what you know is right. Second, emotional honesty. Many deceive themselves, hiding selfish motives behind noble words. But the wise acknowledge their emotions, even the uncomfortable ones. They don't repress them, but neither do they let emotions steer the wheel. They tell the truth, first to themselves, then to others. That transparency builds deep, coherent relationships. Third, practical compassion. It's not enough to feel empathy from afar. Heart transformation involves active kindness, a gesture, a word, a concrete act of help. Confucius taught that true love is shown through action, not intention. Compassion, when turned into habit, transforms the environment around you. These three dimensions are not moral obligations. They are paths to freedom. Because when you live with righteousness, honesty, and compassion, you no longer need to fake, compete, or impose. You simply are. And from that place, you become a quiet force of change for others. Changing the heart is not an invisible act. It has a direct impact on daily life, in the spaces where we spend the most time. Confucius taught that if we want to transform the big, we must start with the near. In the family, heart transformation appears in everyday conversations. When a father learns to correct without hurting, he cultivates respect. When a mother acknowledges her exhaustion without projecting it onto her children, she models emotional honesty. When a sibling stops competing and starts supporting, a new kind of relationship begins. It's not about perfect families, but about people who meet each other with more compassion, less judgment, and deeper listening. Small actions matter. Apologizing in time, softening your tone, asking, "How do you feel?" before offering advice. This is where the heart becomes a builder of peace. At work, transformation is seen in how we handle even small moments of influence. An employee who speaks with respect, even in disagreement. A boss who admits mistakes without losing authority. A colleague who helps without seeking credit. When we act with integrity and clarity, we inspire without preaching. For example, choosing not to participate in gossip quietly sets a moral boundary. Sharing ideas without seeking to outshine others fosters collaboration. A heart that has been worked on doesn't need to prove anything. It simply expresses itself with coherence. In society, a changed heart shows up as deep civility. Not just voting wisely or avoiding littering, but giving up your seat, making eye contact with the street cleaner, respecting someone's silence on the subway. It's speaking up when someone is treated unfairly, even if it's not your issue. It's caring for what's shared because it belongs to all of us. Great transformations begin with citizens who live as if every small gesture matters, because it does. Confucius didn't dream of public heroes, but of righteous people in the everyday. Changing the heart means beginning to live with that clarity, wherever you are, with whoever surrounds you. Because the personal is not just political, it's profoundly transformational. Deep change doesn't need noise. There's no need to preach loudly what you live quietly. Confucius believed in the power of example as an invisible force that transforms without imposing. He said, "He who governs with virtue is like the North Star. It stays in place and others revolve around it." That quiet example begins with the simplest acts. Someone who stays calm when others lose control, who listens when others interrupt, who acts rightly even when no one is watching. They don't seek admiration, only coherence, and that coherence, without trying, inspires. Many underestimate the impact of a life lived truthfully, but those who witness integrity will eventually ask, "What does this person have that I don't?" That question is the beginning of change. You don't need to convince anyone with arguments. The way you live already speaks. If you want to transform the world, start by being someone whose mere presence reminds others that another way of living is possible. We want a more just, more humane, more peaceful world. But that world will not arise from empty speeches or imposed changes. It will be born from the hearts of those who choose to live differently, not with superiority, but with humility, not with perfection, but with coherence. Confucius knew this. Everything we try to change out there begins within. Want less hatred in the world? Let your words be more thoughtful. Want less selfishness? Let your actions be more generous. Want less violence? Let your emotions learn to breathe before reacting. This is not resignation, it is responsibility. Because the heart is a source. From it flow our intentions, judgments, and perspectives. If the source is clean, what flows from it will be too. But if it's muddy, even the best causes become tainted. Changing the heart means purifying the source, and from that clarity, choosing how to live. Maybe you won't change the whole world, but you can change your way of being in it, and that, even if it never makes headlines, is the most revolutionary act. Because when one person changes their heart, their environment begins to breathe differently, and that breath, in time, becomes contagious. Confucius didn't ask us to give up on the world, but to transform it from the hardest, most real place, within ourselves. Because only those who have conquered their inner world can truly sow peace in the outer one. And that peace is not imposed, it radiates. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift within, I invite you to stay. Subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share in the comments which part touched your heart most. This space exists to plant reflection and build wisdom together. Because changing the world begins with conversations like this one.